reality in disguise. Put your fist up in the sky.
I want to take a moment and describe to you the way the holographic reality of human experience is used as a form of illusionary manipulation of our present existence. I want to break this down because this is new information for some people, and others are just gathering information to come to a conclusion about this existence and the mechanics of this existence, which is determined by the energy. This is metaphysics. Meta is the energy experience, and energy is unseen, right? We can't see energy with the two eyes. So when I'm speaking about a hologram or holographic reality, when you hear me say simulation, let me describe to you what that means and give an example. There are some days in your experience where you wake up feeling certain emotions that are not supported by something in your present experience. An example could be waking up and feeling this deep sense of dread that something bad is going to happen or has happened, but nothing has happened except you just woke up feeling an emotion. Or you can wake up feeling angry, and because you don't know why, right? You start to scan your environment trying to see, like, why do I feel like this? And sometimes old wounds from our childhood come back in like these energetic, emotional flashbacks. And when I say simulation, I mean the experience that you're having, the energetic stage play that's taking place. And this is determined by astrology, the energy of the planets, where they're located in correspondence with your natal chart. So this will give you direction in the timing, in the celestial divine timing of what you are experiencing as your healing journey to catalyze new actions and new beliefs and new realizations about you and your experience. This is the encapsulation of a spiritual awakening, getting to know your authentic self, right? So there are some days when I feel into energy that I'm feeling, and I notice that this is something that happened to me when my parents got divorced. This emotion that I'm feeling of feeling fearful of life, feeling the uncertainty of what may happen next as a threat to my safety, right? And I'm actually feeling into those emotions in the present moment so that I can bring awareness to this traumatic experience to work through it. What happens is the frequency that's being created in my personal world, my personal reality, for the purpose of me getting to know myself so that I can be a healing factor in my own life, so that I can learn to be my own lover, my own healer, my own redeemer, my own parent, so that I can reparent my wounded inner child with the amount of love and compassion, patience, and empathy that I may have not received when I was a child. This is a beautiful opportunity, but it doesn't feel good because I'm facing my subconscious programming. I'm facing my deepest fears. I'm facing the dark, repressed, emotional parts of me that created like these other personalities, these micro personalities. We all have this. No one is the same all the time. And we say things like it's a mood, but it's more than a mood. It is a mode. It's a modulation. And so this is how a woman, she could be an amazing mother throughout the day. And at night, she can be the freakiest freak, just down for whatever, confidently sexy, sensual, I mean real grown woman stuff. And just earlier that day, she was teaching her child ABCs in such a way where her child felt the presence of that loving, innocent, cultivating, mothering energy, and then she steps out of that energy and steps into a sacred whore energy. That's really what it is. And we'll say, I just got in the mood, or I was horny, right? These are simulations. These are vibrations that we enter into to create moments to experience. So when I use the term holographic reality, we must remember that we're in a spiritual war as well. So there are energies within the air who are attempting to attach to us when we get in these lower vibrational modalities, because this is how they feed. They feed off negative energy, just as sometimes humans feed off eating foods we know will have a negative impact on our energy, on our body. So being able to see energy, I'm able to make these connections. Let me get my energy readjusted. Okay, so I'm able to make these connections. So even though you are the age that you are chronologically, if you're awakening, you're feeling things that you weren't allowed to feel or didn't feel to its fruition, allowed an emotion to actually be felt and work through it. I mean, we was kids. We didn't know how to do that. And the grace of this world just allowed our brain to compartmentalize those experiences so that we could maintain a level of sanity to continue our experience on this planet, right? That was the grace there for us. So the brain's ability, neurological ability to compartmentalize these separate experiences, just like a quantum computer, that's what the brain is. And it puts it in a file and it puts it away. And there's a future date that file will be accessed. And it's based on the steps that you take each day, the decisions that you make or refuse to make, the parts of you that you take the time to get to know. All of these things create the date in which we're going to face something. However, in the spiritual realm, there are energies, because they feed off of the negative energy that humans create. They're going to try to attach to you and get in the mix of your simulation so that they can eat. It's no different than us pulling into, navigating from our home through many paths and roads and interstates and highways to get to a destination. And then we get something to eat. This is what the archons do, right? And so they feed off of this energy. And so because we, in our fear of seeing the parts of ourselves that seem ugly and evil and bad and whatever adjective you want to use for it, it's many. And this is the constructs of human language. It can be used to imprison you, or it can be used to free you, So it all is in the art of how we use our words. So I'm being very aware of these words that I'm speaking to you in this channel message, hoping that you will be able to use that energy to have a higher level of self-awareness as well, because that's what this conversation is ultimately about. the benefit of having self-awareness is knowing that, okay, I'm having a day, I'm healing some deep inner child wounds. So today might not be the best day for me to put a whole lot of things on the list to do. Let me look at the things on my to-do list and see, can I make some adjustments so that I can spend some time reflecting with myself. And as you begin to open these compartments by doing this reflection, and you discover like, oh, okay, I have an abandonment wound there, and the text message that I got yesterday before I went to bed, it made me feel away, and now I'm realizing that I've awakened, right? And I'm self-reflecting like, oh, that text message might have been the reason I was triggered. And so I woke up feeling some of that negative emotion, and maybe I had dreams that was a symbolic, reflection of that emotion. And so even our dreams will be co-created by the energy that we're in and how we are showing up in the way that we are dealing with that energy. And what happens to us when we're feeling afraid of making a mistake is we don't look at these parts of ourselves because it feels overwhelming energetically, just living day to day now, right? The energy of the world, you feel more weight behind the things that you say and do, and because of that, we are also more energetically sensitive, so our emotions are, like trigger hairs, and they can be pretty intense when they're coming up. I mean, we are people who are seeking to heal ourselves because we acknowledge that we have unprocessed trauma. And as the collective is awakening and working through this unprocessed trauma, we are becoming more empathic. And it might not be comfortable for you to be empathic, to feel other people's feelings, because you have a difficult sometimes feeling your own feelings, especially if they're not the ones that's been stereotyped as being the highest vibe feelings in the world. Joy and happiness and bliss. It's like we can get really judgmental towards sadness and anger and loneliness. And when we feel that strong sense of judgment towards our own selves when we're in that space, we're reenacting the trauma we experienced as a child. And so that energy now creates a filter that's supported by the feelings we're feeling. And we have a filter, and whatever we're experiencing throughout the day, we'll see it through the eyes of that wounded child. So to have your third eye open means that you may see with your two eyes what's happening as, okay, this is something that's triggering me, and it's because of something that I experienced as a child. You might not remember exactly what it is, but you can kind of feel it as you practice feeling your feelings. And so the filter is your initial reaction or response to something. So if you're triggered and your initial response is to get defensive, well, then your filter throughout the day, if you don't do the energetic work on yourself, your filter throughout the day will reflect that. And this is how you can, be driving somewhere and somebody could get over in front of you accidentally. They baby could have been crying in the background. They was trying to stick their pacifier back in their mouth, swerved in front of you, but you would perceive that as somebody doing something to harm you and upset you, and you'll get angry. You'll be like, look at this, why would you do something like that? And in that moment, you're so triggered, your mind can only think about the attack that's happening to you. And it may have had nothing to do with you, but we would be like, that was intentional. They got over on me intentionally, right? They did that intentionally. And being able to isolate these different fragmented parts of yourself coming up, then the reality that you're seeing with your two eyes, which is the simulation, it will reflect that. And so if you are using your third eye, then that might be your initial reaction, but your third eye be like, No, that just happened. Like, empathically, you can feel into it and be like, oh, they do have a little baby, some kids in the backseat. And it was probably something going on and it had nothing to do with me. Okay. And you're having the exact same experience, but you're perceiving it a different way using a different pair of eyes or an eye. And so these archonic energies that feed off negative energy, even though you did drop into a lower vibration that's founded in your past experiences, you didn't stay there a long time. And you didn't allow it to be the source of fuel for the rest of your day. You was like, oh, okay, because a lot of us, our day is fueled by adrenaline from going into fight or flight and getting mad and triggered, because that's the only way we knew how to get energy to deal with stuff, right? And that's why sometimes we'll wait till we get real mad to address something, because we really were afraid to address it prior to. So it's like, I got to wait till I'm real, real mad, and then I'm just going to go off, and then everything that has accumulated, you just unleash all that energy out in that moment, because you're not quite sure how to manage your energy. Or maybe you know and you've been learning, but you're not doing it for whatever reason. And so what happens is your reality has more than one filter. It has the filter with the two eyes, just looking at it through the eyes of your trauma, and through the first eye, looking at it from a space of expanded consciousness, higher awareness. So the archonic energies, they're not going to want to sit in a drive-through, because you're not really being a source for them as much. And what happens is you continue to have beautiful experiences, because you're flying high, You're flying high like an eagle, and you're perceiving anything that shows up in your day from the eagle eye space. This is taking control of your holographic reality without being a control freak and, burning yourself out, because you're using past 3D ways of coping with life, and that don't feel good to those of us who are awakening. And so that discomfort and that internal conflict that we feel is a representation of us being at a crossroad, and we're ready to make some higher consciousness decisions about our lives and how we live them. And because you're shifting your frequency inside, and your external reality will begin to have a resonance with that. Perfect example. A lot of the things that I would perceive to be negative and get triggered by, they still trigger me, but it's such a pleasurable experience, because in that moment I gather a lot of intel from my inner self, and I'm gathering information about me, learning more about me in those moments. Problems are portals for me to access higher potentials of myself. And so I can breathe and slow that moment down, slow down my mind so that I can hear my heart. And as I'm being triggered, I'm learning so much. And that's how I create these channel messages and the content and things like that, to help other people navigate life in a more harmonious way without having to control everything happening in your external world. That's liberation, right? That's manifesting with less effort. So I'm so grateful that I've been dealing with chronic fatigue, because it allows me to see my energy as valuable, and I manage it throughout my days from that space of knowing that it may be limited. In the past, I thought that was a horrible negative thing, but it's like, no, this is what I needed to slow down and learn about myself to manage my energy. Maybe there were some things I was putting more time and energy into, and it wasn't going to reciprocate to me the love that I've been cultivating for myself. And so this moment is just slowing me down so that I can acknowledge these different parts of my experience and adapt them and restructure them to be more harmonious to my authentic self, to allow my heart to lead me. In this space is no need. You don't feel the shoulds and that pressure. You just be. But whatever it is, you just learn to be with it and be present. And the more you learn how to be present, I mean fully in your body, not trying to escape, not using defensive coping mechanisms to push things and people away. I mean, you're just fully present with whatever is happening. You're not trying to manipulate or change anything outside of you. You're just like, here. I'm here. And I'm going to feel all of this. That's the courage of the heart. And in that space, managing your emotional regulation, you're becoming your divine self, right? This is you connecting with your future self who has already learned these lessons in life. So that space seems next to impossible to get into oftentimes with the way our present world is set up and the way things are going. But it's possible, right? We know it's possible, and that's why so many spiritual teachers and gurus and psychics and tarot card readers and astrologers and channelers, I mean, just out the blue, just like, woo, it's a whole slew of people doing this work. Just, woo, like the wind just blew in a whole lot of people doing this all of a sudden because we're collectively awakening and we're seeking the truth. We want to connect back to spirit, connect back to nature, be one again with the harmonious frequencies that our soul remembers, right? And as we delve deeper into this, there is also a very dangerous side of swimming in the abyss without protection and awareness. You have no idea what kind of astral entities may be around you, right? Some of them are thought forms you created by thinking negative thoughts over and over and over again. Some of them are created by unprocessed trauma from our childhood, and we reenact it on our children. That creates a third energy in your simulated reality. And eventually that third energy is going to cycle back to you. So it's not always something outside of us that's attacking us and doing something to us. The more you become integrated with your shadow self and your inner child and being your divine self, you learn how to come to these realizations and see these energetic connections. This is spiritual anatomy. And just like your atmosphere in your home can be clean and it doesn't support, harmful pathogens, that's spiritual anatomy. Our spiritual temple is a palace, a huge microcosm of many worlds inside of us, just inside of ourselves, So we're learning how to manage this. And what happens when you're in the 3D Matrix program and the simulation is being ran by those old codes, you don't really know how to navigate the spiritual energy around you, which results in different entities attaching to you that amplify the impact of your words, your nonverbal communication, and your behavior. So with this amplification, becoming unaware, those entities and you Because I'm not just putting this all out like some of that ideology, the devil made me do it. This is all you. This is all your co-creation in your unconsciousness and your consciousness. Okay? So when you are unaware and you are triggered and in fight or flight, you become a predator. And we can become emotional terrorists in our unawareness, where we're not being mindful. We're not fully in our body to feel why we're triggered and why we have this displaced amount of anger happening with something so small, like I knocked over my cup that had some water in it. And that small thing is just, I'm sick of this. And it's just this enormous, intense, displaced frustration coming out. In unawareness, when you are not fully present inside of your body and able to interact with your heart, you really don't know why that moment feels so intense. That's a depiction or an example of being in unawareness. Okay? So fight represents the battle formation we get into when we feel threatened. That amount of anger is created in unprocessed fear. And I'm going to give a little example. That fear could have been created when you spilled something as a kid and your parent had an intense reaction like that. Since we are sponges as children, which really means we're highly empathic, we don't quite know how to have boundaries because we haven't been on the planet long enough to figure that out. So that energy is imprinted onto our spongy cells, and we absorb that energy. And that energy becomes a filter we use to process information. So if my past conditioning says that knocking over a cup of water means that I'm a piece of shit and a failure, and I'm always doing something wrong, and I'm just making life hard. Life is already hard, and then you come in here wasting shit in my kitchen. We went through some stuff, and we've been on both ends of that, a lot of us, okay? It's not about blaming anybody. This is from a place of non-judgment and neutrality, which is the only place you are able to see through the 3D Matrix holographic reality to feel the spiritual impulse that's being accessed, okay? But lack of spiritual awareness, it becomes difficult to plug in and obtain the intel from that moment. Okay, so learning how to use our minds is us taming the dragon, this beast inside of us. And there are many. Some say 72. There are many beasts, which are different moods, modalities that you can shift into based on an external experience. So it is very important that we learn how to isolate these experiences and create structure around them as to the way we're going to deal with it, so that we are not creating more traumatic generational trauma that we have soul contracts to banish. Okay? Now, in unawareness, these entities attach to you. And some of these entities have been watching you your whole life. So they already have data. They know what it takes to get you into a certain vibration so that they can attach to you and feed on your life force energy. This is why I say the primordial waters of noon is here. We're swimming in this unconscious energy. This is a dark matter energy that has been depicted from many different eons of this planetary experience, from many different ancient cultures in many different ways. I search for the common denominator in these different spiritual practices, beliefs, and I create a modern day understanding of that to help us navigate, okay, this subconscious underworld, end of times, apocalyptic energy. This energy is sacred, even though it might seem evil and bad. It's sacred. It has a sacred purpose to those who can look at it from a non-judgmental space. Okay? Now, in unawareness and spilling that water, you have emotional flashback. There are strategies that you can use to turn that moment into a moment of alchemy and change that moment into something beautiful that gives you clarity about who you are, your life purpose, what you're healing. My strategies in the 3D Matrix course teach you this, and I take you throughout the course day by day, giving you tools to use to navigate. All right? So I'm not going to get into here those specific strategies, but I want to give enough of it for you to be able to see how powerful you are when you accept accountability for everything that shows up in your life. Because a lot of us have a difficult time doing that, and we have a difficult time owning when we are wrong, you know, when we've made a mistake. And it's because there's a part of us that feels like that mistake is something you cannot come back from. And it's just fearful that you're not going to be loved, nobody's going to want you, you're not going to be seen as valuable and worthy, right? This is what we're healing right now. In many different levels, and we're in different phases in each level as well. It's like a skyscraper. It's many different levels of this. Okay, but I went into the collective to create this course throughout all of the levels, working through all of the chakras, right? And this is information that I also gathered from you and the people I've done readings with, and the people that have participated in the ceremonies and the pujas and the meditations and the rituals that we create, because this expanded consciousness and this dark matter energy is highly programmable. This is the time now where you can really get your roots rooted in this higher frequency plane of existence that is being offered to us. There is a teacher by the name of Matt Kahn I adore so much. He's like the ultimate embodiment of heart energy, and he delves so deep without judgment into things, and and brings from that these beautiful gems to perceive life through. And so you can check him out. I actually share a lot of his content as well here on the channel. But let me digress back. Gangsta gratitude, Matt Kahn. It's been so helpful for me. So what happens is, in these moments that we are being given to be able to integrate and heal, the energies that are here to be the antithesis to that, to keep us stuck in our head and not being able to be in the heart and live heart-led lives, which is the throne. The heart is the throne. And when you love yourself, you know you're valuable and you're worthy. You treat yourself like you're royalty. you love yourself so much where it's a rare moment when you're not loving on yourself. Like, you can really practice and use these strategies so much that you love yourself this deeply. So what happens is the fight or flight that gets activated in the limbic system, it just goes haywire, and it's like danger, danger, stranger, danger, stranger, danger, and that moment feels strange. And so sometimes we miss these moments that we're being offered because it's difficult seeing the sacredness in things that seem scary. And as you begin to give more love and compassion to yourself, when you make mistakes like that and you PRP it, that's the positive reframe practice, where I'm going to create a positive reason this happened, and I am going to believe that the positive reason it has happened is absolutely why it has happened. Because when I perceive something that way, I am giving love to the parts of myself that were neglected, mistreated, and abused. And that feels so good to me, to know that when I make these perceived mistakes in my reality, that's a moment where I can give love and compassion to myself and be empathic. I wish I would have had this as a kid. And if I really, really love myself, this is how I'm going to treat my inner child now. And I know that I love myself, because if I didn't love myself, I wouldn't even be open to be aligned with the kind of information I connect with, right? So beautiful. And you knock that glass of water over and you do your PRP, and you say to yourself, I got it. When I did this as a kid, I got scrutinized and yelled at or whatever else. And that is no longer a part of who I am, because I have the power to choose how I respond. In this moment right here, I feel the upsetness of knocking this glass of water over. Yes, I do. But I do not have to anchor into that energy, because I have free will. And I know if I anchor into that energy for too long, I'm going to get all of that old stagnant energy and the thought forms and archons that attach to that energy. I'm going to be feeding them. And as long as I'm feeding them, I'm not going to have the strength to respond this way, because they drain my life force energy. The real reason that I don't like being in that space is because I have now learned the danger of allowing that energy to be the foundation of my existence from moment to moment. I'm not anchoring into that. I am not. You can step in some dog shit, but you don't have to lay down and roll in it. See, this is a choice. So view that energy as dog shit. This will help you, because you are using your third eye to visualize energy, using something in your physical reality that makes sense. That allows you to use both the right and left hemisphere of your brain, because visualization, creation, is the trait of the right hemisphere, which is the feminine energy. of consciousness within us. So in that moment, you are integrating both right and left brain using logic, and you're using creativity and intuition, strengthening powers from the feminine hemisphere, which is also called the goddess realms. Okay? In this moment, no matter how long it takes you, just pivot. You might respond in that old way, but you can erase it. Okay? This is your life. You have the power to script your book of life. Okay? You are not someone who is existing under a God that scripts your life and determines how your life ends for you to experience for eternity anymore. If you are listening to me, you have unplugged from that 3D Matrix program. It's a virus in the evolutionary cycle of us going into these higher levels of consciousness. So if you're listening to me, you are unplugging from those belief systems and the many different soul contracts created by existing in those belief systems. Okay? Because all belief systems, that subconscious program becomes the frequency that we emit that creates our reality. All right? So, these emotions, view them as a pile of shit. Now, shit ain't always a negative thing, but right now I feel like most of us here don't step in dog shit and then lay down and roll in it. I would really hope that I'm speaking to an audience who resonates with this. I really hope. I know that I am. So that's dog shit. I'm not going to roll around in it. I stepped in it. Oops. Okay. Pick my foot up. Pull my foot out of it. Wipe my foot off. Wipe it 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 off. Let it go. I'm going to perceive it differently. And me perceiving it differently is me energetically wiping and cleaning out my field of consciousness around me, which is also called the aura. Okay, it's the energy that you create around you based on the internal, right? And by doing this, you are shifting yourself into a high vibrational presence within your temple, your body. You're actually being in your body, because when we're in fight or flight, we are not in our body. We dissociate. In psychiatry, this would be called dissociation. We dissociate from inside the body. We project ourselves out of the body, and we go up into the head, and we hide up inside the head, and with knives, and we just shooting bow and arrows because we are afraid. This is what this shows up as for me energetically as a psychic intuitive. This is how I perceive it. And the examples that I give are exactly the way that I perceive it. Okay? So we're up in the head, and we're attacking anything that is moving in the bushes coming for us, because we don't feel safe and we don't know what else to do. Okay? In that moment that you're not in the body, entities can get into your body because you're not in it. Now remember, we're a microcosm of the macrocosm. As many galaxies that are being discovered are as many elemental energies that's also around us at all times, and sometimes inside of us. Now, they're often not creating our reality when we're being mindful, which is why the constant triggering of being in this chaotic time seems to be causing this huge increase in mental instability. The mental health scene right now, I mean, in every community. Just 5 years ago, black people did not have conversations about psychiatry like this, like the way we are now. This is a result of the awakening. Consciousness is expanding. We're being called to expand, right? So now that we have left the body vacant, anything can attach to you. This frequency coming off the towers that we use to have these devices, it would be foolish of us to think that nothing exists except us. The astral world, it has many different entities that exist within it. The etheric world, it is the container that holds information from experiences that we've had. And this is like the library. The Akash is the ether, is the library containing all of this information, right? And this is why I said to you, we are being given the opportunity to expand and evolve, to take that information and use it. But if you're not in your body and stuff attaches to you, you don't have to freak out about this, okay? It happens. There are many ways that you can spiritually be hygienic and cleanse yourself, okay? So don't freak out about this. I don't want to share something with you and it turns into more fear, okay? I'm going to give you a solution here. And if this, was enough to get you going, great. We do have the course so that you can continue working through this with this frequency of information that's being shared, okay? So, okay, I'm not in my body, and I do this a lot. I'm very heady sometimes. I'm an airhead, air element, Libra, so I can get real mental. It gets stuck up there. When I drop back down in my body using my breath, most effortless, simple, easily accessible way. You don't need any tools outside of you to do this. Just connecting with your breath, get back in your body, slow down. You will be able to slow your heart rate down. It's okay. New me stay. New me stay. I have been cultivating the new me. I'm calling for you to stay. You don't have to leave. I can be present in this moment. I am safe. No matter what happens, it is not going to be the end of me. I have been through so many things before this that were much worse. And here I stand. I am okay. New me stay. I'm not going to leave my body. I am going to feel all of this because I trust that I have the tools and the power to deal with this, right? I trust the process. I trust the universe. I trust me. Even if I don't always feel like I should, I am practicing trusting me. This is a moment for me to practice trusting my spiritual self. This is my I divinity. Okay? So how did that feel to you? I hope it was as good for you as that was for me. So we drop down into the body, and this is where you may feel remorse. This is where you may feel even maybe ashamed, right? Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just said that. Like, or, oh, that was so terrible for me to say that. I said I won't go do that no more. Like, why do I keep talking to the kids like this? Like, oh my goodness, that was not called for. New me stay. It's all right, though. It's all right, right? It's all right. Everything's working out for me. I don't want to be my own worst enemy anymore. So I'm going to choose in this moment, using my free will, to say everything is working out for me. Don't it feel so good? Now, this allows you to create a boundary between you and the other parallel realities that we are experiencing in this holographic reality. And the technology is definitely challenging us right now, but it's the weight for us to use to build our spiritual muscle. Okay, that's it. We don't have to get too attached to the many different ways that war is being waged against us. It is. The more we focus on only the war, the more power the war has to continue. So let's shift our focus to what can I be doing that is beneficial during this time of chaos, and practicing that daily. It will dissipate. This is how you shift from the 3D earth to the 5D earth. It's not a location thing right now. Okay? It's this experience that you are having in the simulation and what that experience gives birth to. All right? So for me, every problem and every negative thing that happens, using my strategies, I turn those experiences into something that will be of service to me. That way, I'm not in fight or flight. I don't have to be. I'm in rest and digest. I am relaxing in my feminine essence, allowing myself to magnetically vibrate through this highly programmable etheric energy as a spiritual being that is not bound to exist on the 3D plane only. I am emanating my I divinity, resting in my feminine energy, trusting the process, connecting to reasons to be satisfied and grateful. In that space, so much peace there. And you can still be going through trials and tribulations in that moment. Like, what? You mean to tell me I'm a spiritual being and it means that I can do that? Absolutely. Now, the course right now is on sale and it's $49. Okay? And we reduced the course because in my dreams, the intel that is coming through is of a great soul migration happening as a result of the awakening. And the ability to clear many, many, many years of karmic vibrational frequency of the planet is available to those who are ready to do this love work and embody this energy. The 5G towers are simply the yin to the yang. It's the dark to the light. Soon as I started seeing them in 2006, I was like, uh-oh, it's time for us to become beacons of love. It is time for us to use our ancestral technology of connecting with this spiritual energy being offered to us to support us. We got to do the work. But it is time. I knew it. I was a Christian back then. And I began to upload my visions and videos and predictions of the future because I felt a strong impulse within me that I could not ignore. that this was my life purpose. In a dream recently, I saw humans, royalty in disguise, in their divine selves, the beauty that was being radiated from those of us anchoring ourselves in energy of love, disconnecting from the pseudo holographic love, aka codependency, right? I'm gonna love you to try to get you to act how I want you to act so I can feel comfortable with you. You know, that's holographic love. We was just I saw us after we worked through this, and I was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing I ever seen, where people, and it wasn't us no longer ignoring our darkness. We evolved to a space of embracing it so much and restructuring our spiritual journey to reflect a harmonic frequency. This set me on fire. My heart was just blazing with the fire of passion to connect people with their purpose in life and their true passion to live a life of prosperity. For some of us, that seems impossible because we're looking through the filter of outdated, expired, unprocessed traumatic wounds. Oh my goodness. And in the dream, some of y'all, we hugged and we kissed and we connected. We smiled at each other. Nobody felt the need to be anything other than who they were. There was no shame in the room. There was no blame in the room. There was no guilt. Some of us was naked. I guess some people just like, look, now I done wore clothes for eons. I just want to just be in my natural estate. The way that I was born, it was a symbology of being reborn. And I was like, I see you, do your thing. It wasn't no, sexual trauma and perceiving things that are sacred as being something dirty. The 3D Matrix has really screwed our minds up as to how we perceive sexuality. We see what's happening. And look, y'all, we are here to protect our children. Okay, I'm not going to say no more here. And we were within a pyramid, and our children were with us, and our children didn't have to worry about anything. Such a beautiful space. And I know some people like, there is no way that we could ever have a utopian existence. And if that's what you believe, then you won't be there. The pyramid that we were in was a crystal pyramid, and it was like many of them, and we had filled them, and it was just so glorious to see, and the music that we were experiencing was just in the atmosphere. Can you imagine just listening to Sade or Prince, and just whatever you plug into a certain mood, and the ethers around you just cast out that energy. Just, can you imagine? Right? I mean, harmonic frequencies talk about creating the new verses of the song that your soul came to sing. Sound in motion. That's what happens when we talk. Non-verbal communication is still sound, just can't hear it. Put something in motion, I've had this dream for almost 2 weeks now, so I know for sure that it's time. And we are migrating into higher consciousness for those of us who can get on this bridge and come on walk through this wormhole. And no, it don't matter when you find this video. Remember, time and space is just a part of the illusion, the holographic reality to simulate experiences, right? We are spiritual beings, and we are not bound and imprisoned in time or space. That is the whole purpose of a spiritual awakening, to realize until you are free and sovereign and liberated. Okay? And so in this course, I'm going to be directing you throughout this, and I also have a few tools that you may already have at home. And we have a spiritual emporium shop as well with tools to guide you. And it will be some of the tools that you can order to use throughout the exercises in the course, throughout the modules. And so I would recommend that if you don't have any. And this is going to give you access to other exclusives and discounts and freebies, ebooks, PDFs. You know, my love language obviously is service, right? And so that translates into the course. So this is a combination of personal development and spiritual healing, experience, shadow work, dream work, journaling, inner child, reparenting. And I took it and I put it in a nice little package. And this took me 15 years to create. And so the patience that it took to get here, oh my goodness, that was a challenge, but I'm here now. So if you would love to be a part of this new verse that we are creating for the new earth, click the link in the description. Head on over to the website. Get the course. If you want to get some tools, get the tools. You don't have to. I love to innovate and inspire others to create with what they have. And I will also be announcing the next events very soon. But for right now, as souls are ready to migrate, and there are 7 parts to your soul now, okay? So I'm not telling you that this is the only thing that you will ever need, okay? Because there are 7 fragmented parts of the human soul. But this is definitely going to allow you to create the life that is in alignment with the heart and not the head, okay? So we got to stop leaving our body to be able to finally receive the manifestation of what we have been creating in our lives, y'all. We got to be more embodied and more present, okay? Power is in the present moment. There is no power in the past, and there is no power living in the future. The power that is required, okay, for this journey is in the present moment. Okay. So I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to head over to the site as well because I'm working through this course as you are. As I said, you can go back to this as much as you need to. All right? Man, your third eye has just been kissed. New me, stay.